through some of the what we call the kind of hard technologies, but then as the course progresses, we start to look at how these technologies come together and combine and create disruptions across various systems. So we move into a second course called Disruptive Systems, where we might be looking at future work, future of health, future of energy, the future of education, as some examples. And then obviously when you're going to talk about technology, we also need to start thinking about the ethical considerations. So we have a course on tech and ethics, because while we know that technology can solve problems, it can also create them. So how do we ensure that any tech solutions we're designing are going to have as much as possible a positive impact on society, culture, the environment? So that's when we start looking at topics like digital equity, sustainability issues, topics around data sovereignty, privacy. So all these things we need to be thinking about when we talk about technology. So we do cover a wide range of topics, and we do so at quite a pace through part one, because once we've covered those, that's when we really get you to start thinking about your particular area of research or what your project might be, and that can go anywhere from there. So those are kind of the core topics we cover in part one, and then it will get more bespoke to you as you work through your project.
Awesome, thank you. Now, sorry, I'm just trying to miss that. I'm having a tricky time here with my screen sharing, so sorry.
That's all right. I can ask myself a question if you like.
Sure, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what I'm doing here.
Who is the Masters of Technological Futures program for? And again, interesting, I'm going to go broad on this, and the more I've been leading this program for 3 years now, and the more I've got to know it and got to know the people who do it, it's really, it's for anybody who has a problem to solve or a belief that there's a better or different way to do things. And when you put it like that, that's kind of everyone, right? So what I would say is that you don't need to be a tech expert. It's more about being able to recognise those opportunities for innovation within your own context. You're drawing on your own experience. You'll know your space, your context better than anyone else, the problems that exist in that, and then looking at how do these emerging technologies can start to address some of those challenges. If I think about current cohorts, we currently have people from healthcare, education, the energy sector, construction, human resources, we've got creative arts, we've got local government. So a really broad cross-section of all types of society and industry. I would say the common denominator really is just having that curiosity and an open mind, which Felix, who you'll hear from later, you don't know if you recall this, Felix, but you mentioned in a session earlier this week that research is really just structured curiosity. And I love that. So yeah, what I would say is just, if you're curious, bring it and we can help you structure it.
Fantastic. And do students need to come in with an idea of a project or a project in mind of what they want to research?
Yeah, don't need to. And perhaps Adam and Tamara can speak a bit to this as when they get a chance. But look, it's great if you do. But regardless of whether you do or not, there's a good chance that that idea will change as you move through the process and gather new knowledge and insight. So the way the program's been designed, it should work for you regardless of whether you've got a really clear project idea or you might have absolutely no idea. And some people just have many, many ideas and need a way to kind of whittle those down to one that works. So you get at least 15 weeks of playing in part one. Like I said, all those topics I mentioned before to be inspired by, to try different things out. And that's before we ask you to start shaping up that idea for you, what that might be that you want to solve. But we've run this program coming up to the 25th intake, and what we do know that everybody has at least one big project lurking somewhere inside them. So trust the process and just see what emerges.
Awesome. And so obviously technology is changing at such a fast rate. How do you, or how does Academy stay at the kind of forefront of technology, and specifically in this program? Yeah,
like you say, broad, fast-moving space and increasingly touching every aspect of life. So we do this through a number of ways. Trying to wrap our arms around that pace of change. we partner with industry. It's the best way we can do that. So we bring in experts to share their real world case studies and experiences. So yeah, people out there on the front line doing what they can in industry to try and stay afront of these trends. We get to partner with them and bring them in to speak to our students. So they'll speak to technology in that broader sense of the word. So yes, the hard tech, but then will always increasingly emphasising that real futures focused approach. So encouraging students to explore not just the current trends of future, what's happening now, but really pushing out into future possibilities. So yes, technology, but also new business models, different tools for strategic innovation, different frameworks, the impacts of societal and demographic changes. So all of those things we'll touch on too, because yes, it's the technology, but it's also about the space and place that the technologies will be landing into in the future. The other thing I think worth mentioning there, that it's postgraduate study, so owning your own learning experience is really key. And we can light those sparks, really kind of get that curiosity pumping, but really want to encourage you to find those aha moments along the way that really resonate with you, and then take those and kind of weave them into something of interest to you and dive deeper into those aspects. So ultimately, at the end of this 18 months, you'll get input from experts, but you will also become the expert through that development of your own project. And then linked to that, and we'll probably get to this a bit more when we talk community, but we're really keen to build this culture of share back. So if you discover or learn or develop something interesting, to share it. So share it back into the community. We've said it's a fast-moving space, and it really does take a team effort to keep across it. So really building that culture of sharing that continues beyond the classroom.
Amazing. Now, Academy X is kind of a bit of a different study environment than anywhere I've seen. So would you be able to explain to us what the study environment is like here?
Yeah. I guess the easiest way to say is not your traditional lectures. So we kind of touched on this earlier, where we partner with industry experts, but more than that, we really want to bring our students, or get our students to bring all their experience and knowledge into the learning space. So what we're aiming for is this idea of facilitated conversations. So our industry experts on hand to share their knowledge, but also you as the students getting to shape what gets shared and discussed, and very much being an active part of that. And yeah, community is the other key one. So you'll bring your own curiosity. You'll be surrounded by other curious innovators, and not just your immediate classmates, but also the broader Academy X whānau. So there's this amazing network of change makers, all really passionate about how technology can create positive change. And our job is to really work to unlock those connections, those within your cohort, but also through regular events to inspire and connect beyond that across the community. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved, and I think Brielle might touch on this a bit later, but like anything, it's really what you make of it. Yeah, and I'm sure our alumni can talk more to this.
Awesome, thanks so much, Fiona. I'm just going to stop share this for a second because I'm not sure that it's actually working properly, so I'm so sorry, but it won't be 1 minute, and let's just try it again. I won't be a second, and let me get it up so that you guys can all see.
Cool. The other thing I might just add too while you're doing that, Brielle, is
Sure.
The project is obviously a big part of the learning experience too. And once you get into that project planning implementation space, that's when that community really comes into play. So you'll have your own personal advisor, Felix being one of them, who regularly meets with you to guide you on that learning journey. But we also have Converge, which is our research culture, and that includes weekly meetups. So students from any program, regardless of what stage of study they're at, can come together and share what they're working on. So there's this real hive mind idea that you can tap into the wisdom of crowds and just seek feedback and resources across the community. So community is a big key of how we do things differently.
Thank you very much. Right, now I'm going to introduce to you a couple of our amazing alumni that have been through and done our Masters of Technological Futures. First and foremost, I'll introduce you to Tamara Waugh. Tamara is a Master of Technology Futures alumni, as I mentioned, and is at the forefront of innovation in mental health care. Her research focuses on developing an AI-powered trauma-informed avatar therapist, incorporating biofeedback into the mixed reality space. This groundbreaking project aims to reduce harrowing wait lists and expand access to compassionate and effective mental health support, revolutionising the way we heal trauma. Welcome, Tamara.
Kia ora, everybody. Happy to be here. And did you want to ask me questions, or should I just ramble on?
Absolutely. Can you please tell us a bit about yourself and your topic project?
Yes, sure. So my background is in mental health and sexual harm sector. And I both lived experience and professional experience in these areas. And a lot of my background is in system change and systemic advocacy for survivors. And before doing the masters, I built a no-code e-learning platform, and that was for a program for survivors of sexual harm. And so those were my main areas of interest coming into Academy EX and the masters program. And I kind of had this this idea of what I wanted to do, and that was sort of to expand what I was already doing in my e-learning platform. And then completely changed and expanded and blew my mind just being at Academy EX.
So what made you choose Academy X?
I had initially been looking for some postgraduate study, but more so in the areas of trauma-informed care or psychology and neuroscience. And then I glazed on past an ad for Academy EX, and I thought, oh, I've heard about this before from other people in the sector and mental health sector that have done postgrads here, and they seem to have been able to work while they were studying, and so that was kind of interesting to me. And then so I read about the technological futures one, and just being abreast of like edgy kind of innovative stuff most of my life. I was kind of like, actually this might fit better, because then I already know about the trauma side, the trauma-informed side. I've kind of got that down, but how can I actually take this to the next level, and how can I build solutions to the issues that we already have? And the other thing about Academy EX is that it's a community that understands that we're big thinkers. All of the students are like massive thinkers and critical thinkers, and they always have a lot going on, and so the framework of Academy EX really supports your personal learning journey. So if there is at times things are a bit more challenging and you can't get to the work for a reason, you kind of feel like there's this whole support system around you to try and make that happen for you as easily as possible. And yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that's been really great about studying there.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it is so important in life having a supportive place to study, given all of the other stresses that life brings. And so tell me, what strategies did you use for managing your workload, given that you've got the family life, other commitments? It's one of the questions that I get asked probably the most, is how do you fit this into your life?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is actually I'm still doing my masters. I'm 11 months in, so I'm in the final phase of research. And one of the biggest things that I've learned, both about myself and about Academy EX, is that network is there for you to lean on. And so I always think that I'm kind of on this mission on my own, but actually I've had a mentor this whole time and she's absolutely amazing. And so just bouncing off her or just catching up with her and going, this is what's going on in my life at the moment, and just having that that support to go, okay, well, why, let's not make this more challenging than it needs to be. Let's scale back on this part, or why don't you think about doing it this way, or how about I connect you with this person, you can have a chat with them. And utilizing those contacts and those networks just allows you to feel like you've got a wraparound kind of support system to help manage your time and fit that in with your life's commitments. I think when anybody wants to invest in doing a master's, you do have to consider the time and the energy and the commitment that it's going to take. And that's something that I kind of put as a priority in my life. It's a short-term thing for a massive term gain. So 18 months of my life to completely blow my mind pretty much every week that I go to a session for Academy EX and just all the learnings that you get along the way is kind of worth it to stay home on a Friday night or just switch up your routine a little bit. But yeah, you're in a technological futures master's, so there is an endless supply of apps and tools to help manage all the academic stuff that you've got to be doing. So yeah, just utilizing all of those.
Awesome. And so how has it impacted your career progression or opportunities since you've been doing your master's?
Yeah, well, like I said, when I first entered the master's, I was considering what I had already built and what I wanted to expand, as in the business that I had, which was, as I said before, an 8-week program for survivors of sexual harm based on human behavior, emotional intelligence, behavior change. And then after I think it was 12 or 15 weeks of that full immersion period, I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, there is so much more that I could be doing here. And initially I had one idea, and then even just through talking to other people about that particular idea, it opened up a whole another idea, and then sort of things just kind of started happening to bounce that idea. So now I've partnered with Skills VR, which is a global VR company, and they've kind of opened their house of resources for me and are going to be my technical partner. And biofeedback, biometrics, like polysomnography. These are words I never ever thought that I would know, or let alone understand the matrix of how they work. So I think it has changed the trajectory of my career, but fulfilled it in so many ways that I didn't even kind of think possible. And I actually had a conversation with Bria a couple of weeks ago, and before I did this program, also I was recovering from long COVID, and I was kind of getting a bit bored in my business and what I was doing. And it was kind of like going, okay, there must be something more to this, because that's kind of just getting like, okay. And now I just like completely inspired by potential, really. There's just like all the people that are in my class, I'm just like, oh my God, you're freaking amazing. And all the lecturers and tutors that we've had, like, you kind of just sit there and go, whoa, expansive kind of ability to see further than what your own limits were. And it just fully sparked my brain back out of that kind of dull space that I'd been in with the long COVID. So forever grateful for actually saying yes to this and putting my focus to it.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Tamara. And yes, like you say, with COVID, I can imagine that would have been a tough journey. But it is amazing once you've turned your brain on to learning again, how exciting and rewarding it can be as well.
Yeah, and it just goes from one to the next, like it
Yeah.
just open.
Thank you so much. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Right, so now I'll introduce Adam Barnes. Adam's is a Master of Technological Futures alumni from Gen 17. He completed his Master's to change up his career, get closer to technology and to research and build a product. That's been on his mind for years. So now, 2 years on from completing, he's the co-founder of tech startup Bike Matrix, which has recently received $2 million in funding to scale globally. So massive congratulations, Adam. And thank you so much for being here tonight. So I guess we'll go over the same questions, but firstly, can you tell us about yourself and your topic and project?
Yeah, sure. Kia ora, everybody, and thanks for that welcome and intro. And yeah, so as mentioned, I'm Adam Barnes. I'm based down in Wellington, actually, and I can talk a bit about that in a second. So I'm a co-founder of startup Bike Matrix. Software platform helping the global bike part industry find what part fits your bike. And I'll talk about how that came about a little bit afterwards. So it certainly has a link to the Masters of Technological Futures. I was part of Gen 17, so the 17th intake of Masters of Technological Futures, and my project was looking at the digital skills gap. So looking at the future of digital work, understanding how people and companies that needed digital skills got access to those digital skills. And as part of my research and development, I used a product development methodology called the lean product process from Dan Olson, which was really, really helpful for me as I went through it. It was a really good structure. I came into the Masters as I was a GM at a large consultancy in New Zealand, and I just felt like I wanted to change things up a wee bit. I was getting further and further away from technology, and it was a bit of a crossroads, and I wanted to get back to solving problems and to understanding what technology was out there and what our future looked like.
And so why did you choose Academy X?
I'd been looking at Academy X, or Tech Futures Lab as it was known, when I was starting to look for what I wanted to do next. There was a couple of things around that. I had a problem that that had been in my mind for a few years that I really wanted to research and build and do more with. But I also wanted to, as I mentioned, change things up and do some more study. I looked at other master's programs and an MBA, and I thought about doing those, but I kept coming back to Academy X just because it was a practical, hands-on, and you could bring your own problem to it. Similar to Tamara actually coming to it with a problem. But I think one of the things I want to stress is you don't have to come to the masters with a problem necessarily that you want to solve. That the first part of the masters really gave so much insight into the different technology that's out there, and I nearly changed about 3 times about what I was doing just because it was so good. But I stuck to what I originally came in with, and chose Academy X.
Awesome. And how did you manage the workload? Oh, sorry.
I'll just go back, and also, and the reason, so I'm down in Wellington. I'd been looking at Academy X for a while, but I wasn't able to do it because I would have needed to move to Auckland. We were one of the first Gen 17 did it during COVID, so we were fully remote, which I think worked well for me and helped probably iron out some of the sort of online aspects of the course. But yeah, for me it was perfect. It was really good.
Awesome. And how did you manage your workload during the time in the course?
Yeah, as Tamara pointed out, it is a fairly big workload. It's a master's program, and there is at times quite a bit of stress, especially around those assessment times. I think there's a few things to make sure that your work and your family are on board. Making sure that everybody understands the commitment that you've given and that you have sort of planned out what you're doing in terms of the weekly sessions that you have, but also the the study that you're doing in your own time, or the research and development that you're doing in your own time is really important to make sure that you've got time for that with your family and your employer. Planning ahead. So I remember attending a session like this when I was a prospective student, and one of the I guess alumni mentioned, you know, when the start of the course, it does talk about the structure of the course and the assessments that lead up to that. And I really did think, okay, how do I take the first assessment and build on it on the second, and build on the third, and keep doing that. So I tried pretty hard to stay, you know, or to make sure I planned ahead in the early days so that it would make it easier as I was building on top of my topic. I know a lot of people did move around as they learned new things and discovered new things, and that it's awesome that the course enables you to do that, but it can add extra workload, which I'm sure you know, Fiona and the rest of the team will tell people as soon as you start. Yeah.
Oh, and it's oh, sorry. So how has it impacted your career progression or opportunities? I mean, it sounds like you've had an amazing opportunity just recently with funding with Bike Matrix.
That's right, and so the startup that I'm a part of at the moment, Bike Matrix, my co-founders I met when I was just at the tail end of doing my master's and building a product. The product that I had that came out of it was looking at how people who needed technical skills got access to those people, and my current co-founders were pilots for my master's program, and so they used that platform, and then we carried on talking, and then eventually I ended up joining them. But I think it was so that was super useful to sort of get immersed into thinking about what's next for me and getting back to building a product and building a technology. So I think in terms of, yeah, how's it impacted my career and progression, it's really it was just a really good turning point at the right time around what I was doing. It gave me access to, I guess, to a lot of thinking, to a lot of people, to getting into the startup community, to, I guess, having a bit of entrepreneurial spirit. And yeah, I just sort of grasped it with both hands.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I really appreciate it. It was so lovely to meet you, and thank you for answering all those questions. Right, moving along.
I think you've just dropped onto mute, Bree.
Sorry, guys. So I've realized that the time is ticking really, really quickly. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you very much for answering all those questions for us. Very, very interesting. And we really appreciate you guys, both yourself and Tamara, coming tonight. So thank you very much. I will now hand over to Felix. So Felix is an innovator, entrepreneur, and project manager. He was working at PwC in Germany and then moved to Auckland, and has been working with Fonterra, ASB, and has also founded his own startups. He is the founder of Stoke Ventures, and he is also at Academy X. He is a lecturer and advisor, guiding students through their master's programs. So welcome, Felix, and I will stop sharing and I will hand you over. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction.
No
Yeah,
problem.
the time is running. Diamonds are made under pressure. So let's get started. Okay, let me share my screen. So every one of you should now see a presentation called The Second Brain. Yeah, sounds good? Sweet, awesome. Okay, so the aim, oh no. So the aim of the session is to give you a little bit of an idea how we teach, what we do, but also I think having a second brain and know how some people do it in real life is good to take away in case you won't join Academy X, but hopefully, fingers crossed, you will join Academy X. So this is a little bit of a session we normally run at Academy X to students who are starting out, because when you start studying, you will come across a lot of interesting things, and you have to capture those kind of interesting things because you don't know when you will need them along your 12 months, 18 months journey, but also for life. So the aim is a little bit of a case study of my own life operating system, how I capture, organize, share, and execute on knowledge, because as Bria mentioned, I'm a knowledge worker. I've been ex-management consultant, did projects in the SAP space, own founder, lecture, and always a curious mind. So this is a little bit of a deep dive, how I capture the stuff. If you have any questions, please jump in. I think the more we discuss, the better the conversation is for everyone. Okay? Sounds good? Awesome. Okay. So, second brain. So, there's a smart guy out there. He has written a book and methodology, Get Things Done. His name is David Allen. And he coined the term, your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. And that's why people always love those kind of books with pen and paper to jot things down, because me and others might forget some kind of stuff, specifically when it goes down the aisles on countdown and so on and so on. So let's have a look how we create a supportive system to capture all the things we come across in life. Acknowledging that there are two ways. On the one hand side, there is an automated way to capture things where we have tools and various input sources which can be then centralized into a central repository. But then there's that kind of other observational input where we come across walking down the street, reading a random book, having a chat with someone, listening to the radio. So how do we capture that? So there's two parts to it. How do I capture things in a more structured, automated way? And how do I capture things manually? Okay, so let's get started with an easy way, with the automated way. So from an automation perspective, there are three areas. So we consume information. Consuming information, for example, we read Kindle, we listen to a podcast, we read a really interesting PDF, and we want to highlight that specific paragraph, but we don't want to write it down. So there's a first set of sources out there where we want to capture that kind of information. But then we have to combine them. So we need an integration layer to it. So we look how an integration layer could look like. And then how do we access all the information? Yeah, how do we have the information we consume from podcasts, books, being a human on Earth, on a fingertip, so that we have that kind of repository on hand? So let's call it knowledge base, or Tiago Forte coined the term second brain. How do we have it? Where do we have it? What kind of alternatives are out there? Yeah. Just a question here. Who of you are doing a little bit of automated capture, like having a second brain or knowledge base for themselves? Anyone? Okay, perfect. Hope you get inspired. So, what is out there? So, when we look around the world, when we look around our life, we consume a lot of things, as mentioned. The red dots are out there, are the apps I use. In addition to Apple Books, I read hard copy books, but I read Apple Books, I read blogs on Medium, I use Air, for example, second row, second column, which is a podcast app, which is amazing. So I came across Air because I love podcasts. The challenge with podcast is, question to you guys, who listens to podcasts while driving the car, while driving on the highway? Perfect. How do you take notes? Bad idea. So with Air, you triple click the button of your headphones, and then it will auto capture the last 45, 60 seconds, depending what you have configured, and capture the audio file as well as the transcript, and will put it into your knowledge base. How cool is that? So when you drive, you just triple click and it's captured. Boom. So that's Air. I use Shortform. Shortform is a summarizing app of books. Really, really great. You might have heard around Blinkist, but Blinkist is really high level. Shortform is really in detail. So every summary takes about 30 to 45 minutes to read. And it makes also cross references between similar books. Yeah, when it looks into Second Brain, it not only looks into Cal Newport, it also looks at Ali Abdaal and all the other guys. So really, really cool. So what I want to highlight here is there are so many multiple input factors for knowledge out there, which I use. So I had to find something to combine them. And for sure, you can reflect with those kind of Kindles, Twitters, the Libbies of the world, to just orchestrate the thoughts. So the good thing is that there is an app out there who is integrated with all of those kind of apps. Meaning, if you highlight something in your Apple book, you can be able to integrate it into an app called Readwise, which I use. Oh, sorry. And more consumption apps, yeah, what we have there. So what is there? It's Readwise. It imports all the highlights, all the things you have came across on various platforms and combines it into a library, which is really, really great. And for the people who want to be a thought leader, or let's say the Justin Welchs of the world, and want to put out those kind of smart one-sentence advice of life on LinkedIn, it also have that kind of feature. If you highlighted something, you can export straight away out of Readwise those kind of little fancy images. So really nice. The thing here with Readwise is that it captures all the information, and it has an additional service that you can request Readwise to send you random notes you've taken in the past into your mailbox each day, once a week, once a month, to resurface the things you have read. Because I'm a big believer, sometimes I can't remember things when I only read it once. So if it surfaces again, it's better. It's similar like cooking, yeah? It's like doing the spaghetti bolognese sauce. The first one might not be as good. Yeah, there's a chat popping up. Let me check. Oh yeah, Readwise sounds amazing. Yeah, do Readwise. Don't be scared of the money. First, I tried to use multiple different email addresses to get around dollars. It's worth the money. It's worth the money. So the interesting part is, I don't know if someone of you is using Notion or a content management system. There's multiples out there. All the information you capture across those kind of various PDFs, Libbies, Twitters, Instapapers will be automatically synced into a Notion database or into a database of your choice, in quotation marks. There's limitations. They only have 6 databases. But what you have then a structured way how books are being captured, how articles are being captured. You can use hashtags along your journey. And think about, if you're starting on the master's journey, how cool would it be to have everything in one place, and if you search for it, boom, it highlights. It has a global search in Notion and in other of those kind of integrated tools. Speaking of those kind of integrated tools, what I use, that's why you see the red dot, is Notion. It works with Evernote, it works with Obsidian, with Roam, Maple, Remnote, and you also can export all your notes into a CSV and Markdown file, and then with Zapier, you can import it into Apple Notes or whatever. So you can do it. What I want to highlight here is that you have all those kind of 20, 30, 40, 50 consumption apps out there. You highlight the things once, and it will end up automatically in your database, which will be then resurfaced for your consumption multiple times if you want to, which is great. And you have that kind of repository. Yeah. Question, who of you are using Notion? Is someone using Notion? Be honest. So it's really cool. It's free. Really cool AI feature. I think today is the topic of AI with the AI Summit. Yeah. So really cool AI features out there. So really exciting. So this is how I do it. So let's recap. This is the automated capture for second brain. We have the consumption layer, which is the PDFs of the world, the Libbies, which is the Auckland Council or wherever you are, that kind of ebook app from the libraries in New Zealand. you could have short form, and so on. So you consume the information, you highlight, make notes, all the stuff gets automatically integrated and pushed into the knowledge base. You don't have to touch it again, and you have that kind of one source of truth for access, and you can easily export it and can do a bibliography and referencing further down the track for the masters. Yeah, make sense? Sweet. Okay. Now, the tricky part, the manual capture process. This is when we're not intentional about opening up the phone and reading something on Apple Books and knowing, oh, this is an interesting nonfiction book about how to live a healthy and wealthy life. This is walking down the street and just finding interesting things. Keep in mind, this is my process. It might not work for you, but there are similar apps out there which do just the same. So I'm an Apple guy, so that's why all the things which are coming into my mind will be captured in Apple Reminder. There's Google Tasks is there. You have something similar for Microsoft. For sure, you have something also from something else. But the good thing I find with Apple, I can open up the phone, talk to Siri. I can send a text to a specific list. I can drag mails into it. I can message it. So there's so much stuff. It's just inbuilt into that whole entire Apple ecosystem, no matter if it's on the phone, iPad, or on the laptop. And yes, I don't have an Apple Watch because I don't want to have a supercomputer on my wrist. It wouldn't even freak me out. Although I think Apple Watch 10, the Series 10 is really amazing with the blood sugar and oxygen saturation in the blood. But anyway, so the Apple Reminder is my inbox. So everything which is coming into my mind goes into that kind of inbox. And once I have time, I'll have a look and then route it. Is it good? Is it bad? Do I have to action something, or do I push it somewhere along the line? Yeah. Have a reminder. So then for things which are a little bit more long lasting, yeah, I do have Apple Notes. I tried other tools, but for some reason, I always reverted back to Apple Notes. Although I wanted to try Evernote, I tried for the manual capture Notion, but it was just too cumbersome. The simplicity and the minimalistic things in Apple Notes just got me hooked. So that's why all the stuff I have is in Apple Notes, from recipes for running the kitchen at my family, startup ideas, the videos I like, books, podcasts, and so on and so on. For some of those kind of areas where I need a recurring capture mechanism, I do have templates. So for example, I have a book template. And this is how I read books. Yeah, we only have, well, we have 4,000 weeks on planet Earth. So we would die at some point. So reading a book that's not really giving you much might take 20, 30 hours. So maybe it's a little bit waste of time. So that's why first I read Blinkist. Maybe I listen to a podcast. If this is really thrilling, then I start reading the book. Yeah, and then I write down a little bit of notes, how I discovered the book, what's it about, the book in 3 sentences, and so on, and who would love the book. Yeah, so templates. Similar, with Apple Notes, also a pretty cool feature. It has a scan feature. So you just tap on the camera and you can do OCR to capture stuff from notes. Yeah, but even now you can also just do photos, and you can highlight the stuff and copy it in. So amazing. Apple Notes has me covered. Maybe other Android has also cool features. So I also have a journal template. It's just around one thought and one thing I'm grateful. Sometimes I write more, and I don't do it every day. I just do it when I come around. Yeah. So this is what I do. So me personally, I don't need those kind of fancy journaling apps and bullet journals where I have to get to know all those kind of legends. What is the arrow in that direction and the point in that direction? So this is how I do it. Perfect. So here we are. We have the automated one, which is everything based on Readwise, and then we have the manual part of it, which is the stuff I do in the Apple ecosystem. Sure, they are disconnected a bit, but it is what it is. So I have 2 second brains, but easier 2 than 100. Little bit what kind of personalities are out there and what kind of tools. So there are 4 types of people out there. The librarian, the one who likes structure, think about of a library. It has those kind of aisles and you have shelves. So if you think that way, Evernote, OneNote would be great. If you're an architect, if you want to build your own content system and be really creative, Notion or Craft has you. If you're a gardener, when you have it more natural, flowing around and not in that kind of structured way, Remnant or Obsidian. If you're a student, if you have no clue about learning and you don't even know what you will put in, Apple Notes or Google has you covered. Yeah, so, but just, I think there's different tools for different personalities out there. So with that said, start with something. Yeah, better start to make progress with the wrong app than not starting at all. If you start, please promise me you try it for 30 days and you can give up after 30 days, because this is the time your brain needs to adapt. So that's me. Sorry, a little bit faster than expected, but we want to have Q&A. So, and please, if you come across any cool tools afterwards, track me down on LinkedIn, please share. Always keen for new tools. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Felix. There was one question in the discovery, in the question box,
Yeah.
which was, what about Android fans? Which
Yeah,
I was
our
curious about
Android
too, because
fans.
I'm also Android.
Yeah, so this is a really good question. And sometimes you just have to stick to your guns and you just have to say, I don't know. I don't know what's out there in the Android part. What I say, I think if you, for example, for yourself, you have a Gmail account, I think Google Test is really good because it's also everywhere. You can easily embed it into documents and you have also a really good search functionality. But I'm not familiar with the Android ecosystem, so I have to be playing on that. But good question. Maybe I have a slide for next time, I promise.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much, Felix. Really appreciate it. That was so interesting, and I'm definitely going to be looking at Readwise amongst other ones too. So thank you. That's really super duper helpful. So thank you for that, Felix. Now we're going to talk about scholarships, the scholarship deadline, and how to apply to do your Master of Technological Futures. The deadline is coming up on the 30th of September. We do have a number of scholarships, 5 in total, which will enable you to get 50% off your course fees, which is obviously amazing. The scholarships are there, so they range from Impact, Career Change, Tangata Whenua, Pacifica Ako, and Taipakeke, which is if you're age 60 plus. There are also a number of funding options to do your Masters. So you can either apply via StudyLink. There's also fees free. So if you haven't studied before, you can apply for fees free, in which case you will, I can't remember the exact amount, but it does cover quite a large proportion of your study. And there's also Teach New Zealand, which is another way if you're a teacher, which you can also get a large amount off the cost. So highly recommend that you apply for a scholarship and any of those other funding options that are applicable to you. So here is the process to apply. So you can, if you're looking to do your Masters of Technological Futures, you can apply on our website. You submit the application online, attach all the relevant documents, so it will be a CV as well as any degree you've completed or any other study. And at the same time, I recommend applying for the scholarship as well. Then there's a bit of a process. So you would have a half an hour interview with Fiona Pond. So that would be online. And after that, once you're accepted into the program, then you will receive an offer of place. So this particular cohort, the next intake is, well, the start date is the 31st of October. So it'll be the 31st of October and the 1st of November. So you will be in here at the Mind Lab in our offices in Kaiba Pass for those 2 days. It's an amazing way to get oriented with the course, with the location, and with your cohort, as well as with Fiona and advisors. And from there, there will be online classes as well as workshops in here in our offices once every 6 weeks. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we've enabled you to explore the program, connect with our alumni, and hear their perspectives and insights, discover some scholarship opportunities, and then find out ways, obviously, to fund your education and achieve your goals, and make a difference in the world, and shape the future of technology. So that's it from me. Unlock your potential. I love this beautiful diagram here, because I think we all have that burning desire, that idea in us that we are wanting to create or to understand or to capture. And I think the Master of Technological Futures is definitely a way to do that and enable that. So here is some pictures of our staff within the course. So certainly feel free to shout out to any of us. More than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And yeah, we're really, really open. So feel free to connect on LinkedIn, via email, phone, whichever way suits you, and more than happy to answer your questions. Here's my information. So as mentioned, I'm a growth and relationship lead. So feel free to capture that, and yeah, call me anytime. Right, so we'll open up the floor to questions. Does anyone have any questions in mind? I'm sorry that we are running very tight. But I'll just open up this. Sorry, won't be a moment because I can't see anything. And have a quick squiz at any questions you might have. Anybody there? Any questions? No? Doesn't look like it. Okay. In that case, that's the end of our session. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will end with the karakia. I will just open up this document. Can't see why that's happening to me, but it's closed on me again. So it won't be a moment. So here we go. Ka whakarea te tapu, kia watia ai tiara, kia turiki whakataha ai, kia turiki whakataha ai, homie, huie, taikie. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Cool. Thanks all.